In Africa, greeting is a special thing. In Africa, oh, greeting is a special thing, oh. We don't just say good morning, oh, and walk away. We don't just say good morning and walk away. We don't just say good morning, oh, and walk away. We don't just say good morning, oh, and walk away. Never in mama, oh, mama, oh. Never in mama, oh, mama. Yeah. Today I feel the need to address a young couple out there, or young people who want to go into marriages, or those that are newly married. Marriage is not a bed of roses, they say, but like a young plant sprouting into maturity, marriage needs to be nurtured by both parties involved. So if you see marriage as a plant or as a flower vase in your surrounding that you need to grow, you need to prune, you need to weed, you need to water to maturity, you will know exactly what to do to keep your marriage working. Now, why do we have such a high rate of divorce in marriages today? As a young person, when you are going into marriage, what are the things that drive you? Today we see that all manner of things drive young people into marriage. A lot of times when I see people say they want to get married, yeah, I don't have a problem with that, because it's a good thing actually for young people to aspire to go into that union called marriage. But at times when I look at them, both physically and even in the way they go about their things, I could easily tell that these people are actually not prepared for marriage, because indices are all over. For some, their greatest ambition for wanting to go into marriage is that, how do they call it, these pictures they take and post on Facebook, how do they call them now? Pre-wedding pictures. For them, that is their greatest ambition, to want to go into marriage. For some, they just visualize how that day will be like, that wedding day. The fact that the whole world will come and gather, just because of the two of us. And then the priest or the pastor or the imam, as the case may be, will now pronounce both of you husband and wife. What a delightful thing it would be. You have been having this mental picture of what it will look like. For some, is how it will look like for me to now have to lay full claim, full ownership of these individuals I have been dying to have all my life. For some, it could be that the other party has something attractive. Maybe such a person is from a well-to-do background, very rich, and you believe that by the time you get married to him or her, automatically such wealth will be transferred to you. Yes, actually it happens. But what we fail to look at times is the long-term consequences of such reasons for going into marriage. And so, when the realities of marriage begin to dawn on you, when the realities begin to stare at you eyeball to eyeball, you now realize that marriage goes far, far, far beyond these material and ephemeral considerations that a lot of us young people put in before accepting a particular person as our spouse. And that is why, fast forward into the future, you realize that people over the years nurse pains, deep-seated pains in their marriages. that at some point they just need some freedom. When it gets to that point when they can no longer take it, they just want to explode. And that is why you see that even at 20, even at 30, people still get divorced. And that is when you start hearing piled up stories about the things that have been happening in that marriage. The bottom line is that such couple probably did not marry right. Mark my word, probably. It therefore means that for you to be ready and be sure that your spouse is also ready, there are some attributes you must see in each other. The most important of them, if you ask me, is maturity in marriage. There is no way a marriage will last, no matter how much you think you love your spouse, if maturity doesn't prevail at some point in that marriage. It will not last. What do I mean by maturity? By maturity, I mean that you see things with insight. You view things beyond just the norm. You understand, even before somebody acts, you already have an idea the things that could have triggered such reactions. In addition, you already have the stamina to be able to absorb such reactions that you may not like. That's maturity. It takes a whole lot of maturity to be able to understand that your partner is human and could falter at any point in time. And then you must have developed the mind and the heart to be able to accommodate your partner. It takes only maturity to do that. And maturity goes with understanding. Just like I said, if you are mature enough, you would understand that there is no perfect human being anywhere. So before you went into that relationship in the first place, you would have known that there is a likelihood that from time to time, this imperfect being will fail. And in the event of that, how do I accommodate such a being and such failures? That's understanding, that's maturity. And any marriage that sacrifice is not there will not last. Because there are times when you just have to give up your own values just to accommodate your partner. It's not because you are a fool. It is because you are working towards stabilizing your relationship. If it has to be you, everything from what you guys should buy in the house, from the kind of property to buy, to the kind of food to cook, to the kind of clothes you wear, and the way you raise your children, the kind of school they attend, it has to be what you think is right at all times. Then there will be problem. So you must always give room for your partner to also make inputs into how the home is run. Yeah, it is true that the man is said to be the head of the home, but the spouse is the neck, and without the neck, the head cannot stand. And that's why the two of you must always be in agreement before you do anything. I'm talking about sacrifice. You have your own values before you came in. Your spouse has his or her own values. But at some point, you must compromise. A little compromise here, a little compromise here makes a balanced relationship. At times, even what you eat before you got married might not be what you will continue eating, because your spouse doesn't like that kind of food. You must always learn to strike a balance. Another thing is that you must never compare your spouse with the people that you have met before that have, tickled your fancy. Those guys you have met before with six packs, tall, huge, handsome. or those ladies that appear angelic physically, and today your spouse doesn't have all those qualities. There must have been something that made you settle for that spouse of yours. So at any point in time, if you get infuriated by his or her behavior, always remember, this is the first love or the first quality that attracted me to her. So it means that when you want to get married to somebody, you look beyond those ephemeral things like wealth, like beauty, which they say is in the eyes of the beholder in any case, like background. While I agree that it's good to fact check, it's good to double check, it's good to do background check of somebody to be sure the kind of background that somebody is brought up, I wouldn't subscribe to not marrying somebody or not marrying somebody just because of his or her background. What are the personality traits of this individual you are going to be marrying? This is the human being you are going to be spending the rest of your life with. I'm not in any way saying that the kind of background that somebody comes from doesn't, one way or the other, play a role in how this person becomes in life. That's not what I'm saying. But there are people who on their own decide to conquer their backgrounds, decide to rise above the kind of backgrounds they come from, and make themselves far better than where they are coming from. If you find such a person, nothing says you shouldn't settle down, because at the end of the day, it is he or she that you are going to be marrying and not the background. So don't be too hasty to say you want to settle down, all because others are doing it, all because you want to post pre-wedding pictures, all because you want to see how that big day of yours will look like. Don't forget, it's just one day in your life. I remember mine since 16th of May 2014 when we did our traditional marriage, and 17th of May same year when we had our wedding. We've not had occasion to wed again, and by the grace of God we will never have to wed again. But our marriage has continued, and that's because we understood each other, we knew each other's vision, we knew where we were going, we were open to each other. Neither of us came playing the deceit game. From the one she told me her age, I told her my age, fact checking years after, nothing has changed. She knew my background. I didn't, try to elevate my status just to please her, and vice versa. We were playing to each other from day one. So she knew me the way I was, and so she accepted me that way. And I knew her the way she was, I accepted her that way. But if I had gone to say I was this, I was that, I was trying to impress, be who I was not, and even if she had said yes at the end of the day, she now came in and she found out I wasn't all I said I was, definitely she will not find happiness in that kind of a marriage. In other words, I would have hoodwinked her or ambushed her into the marriage. And if there were things about her too that she told me just to make me feel that I was getting married to the right person, and at the end of the day I found out that those things were not right, she would have also ambushed me into marrying the wrong person. And these things have their consequences. We might decide to just swallow and move on, but deep down in us, that trust, that love would wane considerably. And at the end of the day, it is the marriage that will suffer. Because there's no marriage that is built on mistrust, distrust, falsehood that lasts. So one of the secrets of the success of our marriage is openness. We have been very open to each other from day one. We have remained so, and by the grace of God, we will remain so in every respect of our lives. She knows me in toto, I know her in toto. So when you want to get married, these are some of the things you look out for. The compatibility factor is there. You must be very compatible in terms of your background, in terms of your educational status, even in terms of your financial status. In every respect, you must be largely compatible before you say you want to go into marriage. For example, I look at myself now. Can I, assuming I'm still searching with my financial status, can I comfortably say that I want to marry the wife, the daughter of somebody like Aliko Dangote, for example, or President Bola Tinubu, for example, or Mike Adenuga's daughter, for example, or Femi Otedola's daughter, for example. These are the things you look at and you ask yourself. They may say yes to you, but can I really cope with the demands of the marriage? By demand, I'm not even talking about money alone. They might spoil you with all the money, but can you really subject them to living your kind of life within the limits of your own experience and backgrounds? If yes, well, you can go ahead with the marriage. But for me, it's a no-no, because I know I can't cope at the end of the day. What they are exposed to, the kind of things they have seen, are things that I probably have never seen in my life. So it will take a lot of time, it will take quite a lot for us to be able to, come to that world view, come to that common world view on issues about life. So the earlier we learn some of these tricks about getting married, the better and the more stable our marital relationships. Having said all of this, different strokes for different folks. There are exceptions where even some of these things I've said do not apply. It's not to say that everything I've said, hook, line, and sinker, works that way. But more often than not, the results come from all that I've said. And if you think you want to agree with me, think about it. And if you also think you don't want to agree with me, the choice is actually yours.